Oh man, is that microphone on? I'm gonna go check. All right. Do you want to make a video with me? Sweet. Take all this off. Get situated, get comfortable. What's going on, Trainwrecks? My name is Dominick Juliano, and I am a Beautiful Trainwreck. I have been taking you with me through my journey, addressing my stage 3 hidradenitis lately, and I really appreciate everyone that's been reaching out and all the positive vibes I've been getting. And I'm really thankful for this opportunity to be able to connect with others and let them know that they're not alone, and to share with you some of my experiences, the ups and the downs of the treatment and the care, including my wound vac. So speaking of which, that is the topic, the main topic of this video, the wound vac. So let's get right into it. Are you comfortable? All right. I'm going to kind of just ramble a little bit in this video to try and give you as much of my authentic experiences with surgery and my wound vac. So make sure you watch it all the way to the end. At the very least, you'll get some comical stuff out of it, I promise. I had surgery a few weeks ago to address my stage 3 hidradenitis. I have it under both armpits. And I gotta be honest, the surgery has been a little bit weird. It's a little bit different than what I initially expected. But I think I really didn't know what to expect. So I think for anyone who has stage 3 hidradenitis and is looking at the surgery option, do as much reading as you can, but don't freak yourself out. Don't psych yourself out, okay? The morning of surgery, I showed up about an hour and a half early, and I got situated, got changed and all, and the docs kind of explained to me, they check like 3 times anytime they do some major surgery. They'll check with you a bunch of times, you know, hey, what's your name? What are you here for? What are we doing? And I guess that kind of like creeped me out a little bit, because I'm like, hey, y'all know what's going on, don't you? So after I got marked underneath my armpit, the surgeon basically explained to me he is going to take a 5-inch by 5-inch section of skin out from underneath my armpit, and then what he will do a few weeks later is he will take a piece of skin from my leg and transfer it up into my armpit. Now, for somebody like me who's not a medical doctor, that just seems like some mystical, magical healing arts going on. And at first, it blew my mind that this is even possible. I know I've read about it. After the doctors and nurses gave me a brief explanation of what was going to be going on during surgery, we moved into the operating room, and, well, I just remember counting backwards from like 9, 10, or 10, 9, 8, and boom, I wake up in the recovery room. It was an overnight surgery. It was an overnight stay because it was a pretty intense surgery. They removed a 5-inch by 5-inch square underneath my armpit, and afterward, I guess it just didn't really occur to me that there wasn't anything like covering my muscle tissue or anything like that. So while I was in recovery, I figured that they put like a big bandage or something on that. My wounds started getting a little bit loose, and that's when I realized just how real this surgery was. And it freaked me out a little bit, but I'm glad that I came to the full realization that just how serious this surgery was, just how serious I had to take it, because that kind of set the bar for how I treated the wound vac, I treated all my bandages, and generally tried to treat my health and try to get better. Had a few hiccups in getting my wound vac there. It's the VA hospital, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It's like that philosopher Mick Jagger once said, you can't always get what you want, but if you try some time, you might find you get what you need. After we got the wound vac put on, I got discharged from the hospital, and it was a great feeling to finally be out of that hospital. anyone who stayed overnight at a hospital, you just feel like you're in prison, man. You feel like you can't wait to get out of there. Food's crappy. People are nice, but they're just kind of annoying. I'm sure I was annoying. And yeah, I was just happy to be home. Living with the wound vac. All right. This is my wound vac. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My wound vac is currently hooked up to my armpit right here, and there's a tube leading down. And what this tube does is it feeds into a machine that constantly provides suction. I don't know how to explain what the readings are on the suction, but it's got a predetermined amount of suction. Think of it like a vacuum cleaner. And it's got a little cartridge in here. I'm not going to pull it all the way out because it's got some pretty gross looking stuff that has been pulled out of my body. And I'm sure you don't want to see that right now. Using it, however, I will show you. It is really simple. Turn off the screensaver. All right, here's your power button. That turns it on and off. Turn it back on. You'll hear it chug a little bit. It's just kind of building up the pressure. This thing is attached to, I guess, a piece of foam is the best way to describe it, but it's a specific type of foam that it doesn't completely collapse onto itself when it's compressed. When you're using this thing, normally you want to keep the screen locked so it doesn't accidentally get turned off. When I first got the wound vac, I was terrified that I was going to bump it wrong, or I was going to somehow mess with it and it was going to turn itself off. And then, you know, they warn you before you leave with this thing, do not allow this thing to be turned off for too long. So it kind of gets that little bit of paranoia in you. Don't pay attention to your nervousness with this thing. Just try to relax as much as possible, because you're going to be wearing this thing for a few weeks, and by the time you're done with it, you'll be throwing it around like it's for a lot of you women, like it's your purse. You'll just slam it down, or you'll slam it down like it's a regular book. This thing is not going to break, I assure you. Some of the other features of the wound vac that you really, I guess there's really no other features. Scratch that. Charging this thing is super simple. You just plug it in. It's got a very specific looking charger. Plug it in, open up your little flap, and there's a piece of Velcro that sticks in there. Close it up, you're good to go. I want to say this thing has at least 14 hours of battery life. If you're not chugging away, you probably get a lot more battery life than that. I'm not sure. I try to always have my power plugged in whenever possible, so I haven't really pushed this thing. I do know that if it detects any issues, it'll start beeping at you. I'm not gonna mess with it because, well, this is like my last day with it, and I'm terrified of something going wrong. We're almost at the end of me getting this thing taken off of me. But I will tell you that if there is a problem, this thing it'll immediately let you know. It beeps very loudly. If the tank gets too full, it will beep very, very loudly. If the suction is not going correctly, it'll beep very loudly. If it beeps, you have a small little manual that you can go through. You can also go on a website. You can call people from the company. KCI, I believe, is the company. I had it written on here. Don't know. Anyway, the company that provided this, they have people that are available 24 hours, and I have only had to call one time. That's because one night I woke up and this thing was just killing me. I mean, it was just sucking really, really hard. And I explained to the operator what was going on or whatever, and she said she'll send a nurse out the next day. But what's most likely happening is that my tank was too full, and even though it wasn't beeping and telling me it's time to turn out the tank, the pressure was building up too much. And so I disconnected it, changed the tank, and away we went. Things were much better. The pressure was a lot less. Big thing with this thing, do not freak out, no matter what. These things are made to take a beating. I wouldn't recommend throwing them around or anything like that, but don't get like super duper paranoid that you're gonna mess this thing up. It's not gonna happen. I've taken this thing all sorts of places. I have unfortunately gotten it wet. I do not recommend that ever happening, but I can tell you from experience that if you just get some water splashed on it, but not submerged, you're perfectly okay. I mean, nothing's gonna happen. Okay, some considerations with wearing this thing. I normally will get dressed and put this on last. I try to get this, I guess this is a splint. You're given this splint after the surgery to try and keep this area open. But this is normally the last thing that goes on me. As far as your whatever arm this surgery has been done to, you really don't want to move it too much, which is the whole reason behind this splint. But some minor movements aren't too bad. Just don't push it. Know one thing, if you've had this surgery, you're going to be stretching whatever it is that's going on there. And the docs really want all that to be like set in place and not moving all over the place to aid in healing. Another consideration that I would recommend to other people is when you have your home healthcare nurse come and change this thing out, make sure that when it's being taken off, the foam part is being taken off of your wound, make sure it's being doused with water. There was just one time that we didn't have quite enough water, and it really caused a lot of irritation and a little bit of pain. I'm not gonna lie, there was pain involved. That I believe is because our muscle tissue is looking for something to cling on to, and after a few days of this thing being connected straight to your muscle tissue, it'll start to connect. It'll start to try to reestablish, I guess, a bond to whatever skin is missing from there. So it's been a few weeks since I have had my initial surgery to excise the stage 3 hidradenitis underneath my right armpit. And I'd say about a week and a half ago, roughly about 10 days ago, well, maybe it was less than time than that. I don't know, about a week ago, I got a skin graft. And the skin graft is basically just a flap of skin that was taken from a donor site. It was my leg right here. When you look at the donor site, in my instance, my leg, it looks like maybe I fell off my motorcycle and scraped my leg up. You know, like imagine if you were riding a motorcycle and you were wearing jeans and you crashed your motorcycle, which is something I've done before, and you got a really bad scrape. Imagine, you know, just an abrasion across your leg. That's essentially what it looks and feels like. So I currently have skin from right here. It is a split thickness skin graft, and it is up here underneath my armpit. It's been here about a week, and tomorrow a doc is supposed to remove this wound vac, and after that, I guess is the next stage of healing. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you as well. Bear without this thing connected is getting to me, because that'll get to you for a while too. When it comes to pain, I primarily rely on ibuprofen and cannabis to take the edge off. I have taken some narcotics after the initial surgery and my follow-up skin graft. The first few days afterwards, you do feel some pretty significant pain. During the wound vac changes, I highly recommend considering taking the prescribed medication, but only during those times. One of the things that I have learned in life is that when we learn that we have an ability to self-medicate, we really have to identify our limits to that, because you can get carried away pretty easily. Some final thoughts with the wound vac. Do not be afraid of the wound vac. It'll freak you out a little bit. At first, it'll make some pretty heavy chugging noises, and because it's something new, because you've most likely never been in this situation before where you have a freaking tube that is connected to your body. It's something new, and it's easy to get a little freaked out and to panic a little bit. My biggest suggestion is to try to take deep breaths when you start to get a little freaked out, because I've been through it. It's just weird. It's an odd feeling not having any skin, having a machine connected to you. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I'm obviously fucking rambling here. I want some coffee. Overall, I would say that my pain and my discomfort is a lot less than it has been in years, honestly. This surgery, I highly recommend it to somebody who's in a similar situation as myself, dealing with stage 3 hidradenitis and looking at wide excision surgery. Thank you all for reaching out, your well wishes, the positive vibes, and keep it coming. Hit that like and subscribe buttons, and the only way out is through, so let's go.